What's up, Simonics, and welcome back to a new quick win. Today we're creating an interesting version of a side menu with Ionic Angular. So we're going to use the new Ionic version 6 accordion component and put it into the side menu. So we're going to have a multi-level menu, which we can also style quite nicely. We're going to attach routes to that, or actually some click events, not really routes. And that's everything that we do in the first part of this course. So we're going to do this in a static version. In the second part of this video, we will also do everything dynamic. So we're going to use a big JSON file. We're going to create a custom component that uses itself. So it's going to be a bit more challenging in the second part. Maybe you're just gonna need the first version. That's enough for you if you have some like 10-20 elements that you just put into the menus to create a nice accordion. But if you got a lot of elements, perhaps even data coming from an API, you don't know how many levels deep the data will be, the second part will be something for you. All code for this quick win, as always, linked below the video, available for all Ionic Academy members. And if you're not yet a member, go check it out right now. IonicAcademy.com, my place to help you with everything Ionic. But now, let's go ahead and create our cool side component with accordion view. Alright, let's get started with our side menu application. This time we're not gonna start with a blank template, but we're actually gonna use the side menu simply because, well, we could do it, we would have to create 3 more pages, but the side menu comes already with a side menu. So generate the side menu, and additionally, if you wanna follow along with the recursive accordion in the end, we might need an additional module and an additional components in the end. So you can generate them right now if you want to. But if you're only looking for the plain basic solution, you also don't really need this. Also, usually I wouldn't recommend this template because we're gonna see why. It puts all of the markup for the menu inside the app component HTML. So if you open that, you're gonna find a lot of content in there that you can basically for now completely remove. The only thing that we wanna have left is the Ion app, Ion split pane, with a menu, which is the side menu context, and the router outlet, which basically renders our main content. So in the end, it will look somewhat like this. We'll have the menu right here and the inside screen there. Oh, I just noticed, I think I forgot one little command, and that is Ionic generate page details. We might really need that page for all of the examples. So go ahead and generate that page at least. Yeah, we definitely need that. So next step, a little bit of configuration up front. I want to load a JSON file for the dynamic menu. For this, we have to set resolve JSON module and allow synthetic default imports to true within the tsconfig file. So we can then more easily import JSON files. On top of that, we might have to touch the app routing. So you can get rid of all the stuff Ionic has put in there. We will just use it like this. So by default, if we just enter the page, we're gonna redirect to accordion/overview, and otherwise we're gonna have a path with a wildcard in here. No, not really a wildcard, path component that we can later resolve on the details page. So our details page will be available somewhat like this. Once again, Ionic has put everything into the app component in the side menu template. You could also have the side menu in another page. Just check out the other post. Then this part would be within that side menu template routing file, and you would define everything in there. Anyway, we're gonna start with this. So at this point, you have hopefully cleared your app component. You can do most likely the same for your app component TS file. Simply because we don't need that. I don't know if Ionic had the menu set up in here, so I removed that. We're gonna get to these things in a second. For now, let's get started and see how we can create a basic side menu version. Now, what we need for this is, of course, an Ion accordion group. That's the surrounding tag that we need to create any kind of accordion. And within the accordion group, you can now have multiple Ion accordions. So that's our first accordion right here. An accordion usually comes, I'm gonna do it side by side today. An Ion accordion usually comes with a header item, which you can click, that basically toggles the accordion. So we're gonna add this one, Ion item, in the slot header. So the Ion accordion has 2 slots. We're gonna see the second slot in a second as well. For example, slot content. So we got the header slot and the content slot. For header, let's just put in something like languages. And then within the content slot, we could have whatever we actually want. We could have an array of items. I'm gonna do it just like this for the beginning. So this could be our starting point. We got languages, we got the items. We can toggle this, no problem. All of this comes already from the Ion accordion. Now, you most likely came here because you wanted to have this multi-level menu, and we can easily do this as well. The only thing we need to change is that within the content slot, we don't insert the plain items like we did in here. We will just insert another Ion accordion group. So let's do this, Ion accordion group, and then the whole fun begins again. So what we need again is an Ion accordion. Inside that we might have a header slot. So let's say this is the JavaScript header slot of this single Ion accordion. And then we might have an Ion list of different items. Oh, I should have copied them. Anyway, Ion item. What was our header? JavaScript? Yeah, what could we? I don't know. Let's just put something in there. And then we're going to see that we already come up with a nested accordion. Yeah, if I put this into the content slot once again. And you really need to be careful to structure this correctly. But anyway, it's pretty easy. So now I could even completely copy this Ion accordion and just put a second in here and call this whatever. And then we would see we would have the second entry following with the same. And by default, you don't have multiple accordion groups open. You can change that if you want to, of course. Okay, let's do a little bit of fun with this one here. And instead of just having items in here, let's add some items that actually trigger a functionality. So this is how an accordion in the side menu with routing capabilities could look like. I assume that when you click on the top level right here, you rarely want to open a page in the background. Yeah, you could actually do this. I think you could just add a click handler to the header slot if you want to trigger something. But usually I guess this should just expand anything, and at some point you arrive at this level where you want to really click items in the menu. And for those items, you could now also use a router link if that's easier, or if it works for you, if you have really defined path in your application and you just make everything static. But in our case, we're gonna do it a little bit more flexible. So what we wanna do is we wanna go to this one details page and we just wanna pass the path to that page. We already used this in the Capacitor file explorer tutorial where we had like a dynamic path. And this time we're going to do the same. So we're going to pass a string like this to our open function. And within that open function, we now navigate to the new page. So basically what we want to do is we want to call the Angular router, call navigate by URL. And then we want to navigate to somewhere accordion and the path that of our item that we clicked. So this could be our path. Now the problem is that if we pass in the path just like it is right here, we're gonna see something interesting. And that is, let's take a look at this. Cannot match any routes, accordion, languages, JavaScript. The problem is that this is now, or Angular thinks, okay, this is a cool URL, but you haven't defined that URL. So what we need to do to fix that, if you want to pass something like this inside your URL, is simply to encode the URI components. So encode URI component path, and as a result, we can now use this instead of the path. So let's call this encoded and pass it along. Now the problem should be gone. Angular. Okay, it looks great if I still have this one open. We see at least something is happening in the background, and we see that this string here as well is changing. So really didn't want to make it that big. Well, we see this string is changing with the URI component, and that new page is coming up. Now there's a problem. First, the menu is not closed. Second, that enter animation is, well, I don't like it for the menu. And now there are two things that we should change with this transition. And the first one is to set the direction for the next animation of the router to root. Whenever you do some kind of routing with Ionic from code, you should use this to either set forward, backward, or root. Then Ionic will simply use the right animation. So now it looks like this. You see, the background page is just replaced instead of this appearing push animation that we had before. In terms of the menu, it's just as easy as calling the menu controller that we already injected up here from Ionic Angular, just like the nav controller, and then simply call on the menu controller toggle. You could also have an Ion menu toggle item around those items, would work the same, would completely be the same. Now, you can already see that I arrived on the details page and have a little breadcrumb up here for the fun. Let me quickly show you what's going on that page, because we think in your case we haven't touched that page. Now, the first point is to get the activated route injected, and that activated route simply has our path. Just like you would usually access an ID or any kind of information from the path, we now have it like this. And once we get that, we have this string here, and then we need to split this with a string. Actually, we don't get a string like this. I can show you that, in fact, the URL path that we get from the route is actually pretty clear. As you can see, that's not an URI encoded, so we don't need to decode that. It's already fine on this page. So therefore, we just need to separate by split. We just need to separate the string. And then we get an array with a different path, and that's just what I used to create a super simple breadcrumb. There's no navigation attached. I just want to make it look a bit nicer on that page, and also included the Ion menu button up there, so we can have on the details page as well our little menu button. So with that in place, I think we already got the first working version of our side menu with an accordion component. So we can navigate around. You could have different paths in here. You could also just make this not as dynamic with the path as we have. So maybe you just have 10 pages and you need to link them. Then, well, just go ahead and use the router link to the right page. But you still get the benefit of using an accordion like this. You have static data, just define the different accordions and the accordion groups, and you shouldn't have a problem setting this up. On top of that, we could also style this a bit. So maybe let's do this. Therefore, let's go to the global CSS today. I'm feeling freaky. And I've shown you this before in the Ion accordion component video. So if you have problems with the accordion, definitely also check out that video on my channel. You can style the expanding and expanded state, or also the collapsed and collapsing state. And all we want to do is we want to style the item inside the header slot, which is this item right here or here. And we just want to set a tiny little different background color, font weight, color, icon, border, nothing special. But as a result, we see that we now have a blue header. And if we expand it, we have the dark color of the expanded item. And we also see that the items now look a bit different. So we get this little difference between the open and closed item. We could certainly do more in terms of margin, padding, more background. Well, actually I think it's okay. Maybe we could use a bit of margin here. we could change the height of the ion item here, but that's really a little detail that's up to you. Play around with those styles. This is just the beginning, and maybe we also want to use the ion icon white in this case. I feel like a white icon here. Yeah, that just looks better. You could also change the toggle icon of the accordion, just saying. And then we got our component. Now, what I also wanted to show you, how long are we? Okay, 30 minutes, that's great. On top of that, if you have perhaps a dynamic array of information for the menu and you don't know how many levels you got in the menu, then you could create a custom component. I've already started this one, so let's quickly go to our shared components module. You should have generated this in the beginning, just quickly saying it again. If you didn't do, generate the module, generate the component. Inside the shared module file, we have to declare and export our component. And since we want to use Ionic components in there, so the Ion accordion will be in this custom component, we need to include the Ionic module as well as the router module, since we will also have the navigation in there. And wherever you want to use this, of course, you need to include it. So in this case, it's actually the app module where we have to import the shared components module. I really recommend that you don't do this because usually you do it in the module file of the page where you're using it. So at this point, I really thought, well, I should have created my own menu because it's just better than the default setup. But anyway, let's drink a coffee and move on. Okay, so what we need now is to not use the details page, not use this, not use that. The only thing we need is our accordion component, HTML and TS. There we go. So within the accordion, we want to iterate some data. I've prepared this data. Maybe I'll also post a link below where you can grab that file. It basically looks like this. It's just, I just used a super simple syntax. An array of items with multiple items, just like this. They all have a name, they have children, and this could be how many levels you want, or it could just be really flat like this. So really trying to cover all different cases, an array where we have more items and just another link in here. Let's do something else. Cool people. Let's just call this people. You could also have the icons in here if you wanted to display an icon with the items. Really, a really simple setup. Now, based on that information, we want to create our accordion component. So we'll definitely pass in an item, and we will also need a path to the parent just for our navigation, so we can keep track of the different path components. Maybe we should get started with this. So within the ng on init, if our parent isn't actually set, so this will happen on the top level. In that case, we will just set the current parent to the name of the item. So once again, I will try to keep the menu file open here as well. That's just this name. In the case where we already got a parent name, we're gonna set this parent, or we're just gonna add something to the parent, which is another slash, and then this .item.name. So that means we will be able to create the same path that we had before, and then also mostly use the same syntax inside the open path. The only difference now is that we're gonna use a different path. So we not just use the path, which will be basically the name of the item, but we will also put this parent in front of the rest of the path. So then we have basically the history already. And then the same thing happens again, encode, set direction, navigate by URL, and then toggle the menu. Maybe we integrated already the component within our app component. So let's get rid of this, although this is kind of sad. We're gonna still use the Ion accordion group for the top level. So let's do this. We're gonna keep the Ion accordion group, and the Ion accordion will be more dynamic. So I'm gonna remove the stuff within here. What is this? Oh, we had a second accordion. Okay, and then we're gonna create one accordion for every item, let item of menu.items. So menu is what we already imported in the beginning. As I said, we can easily import the JSON data directly like this, or you're loading it from your API, would work mostly the same. Now we would have one Ion accordion group with many items from the top level. And we're gonna just put Ion item slot header, Ion label item.name. So that's the beginning. We should have now frameworks and languages. Great. That's what we got in our menu file. Now we need the dynamic rest of this, and this will now be handled by our app accordion. We're gonna pass in the current item as item, and we're gonna put it into the slot content. And then we're gonna hit save. Okay, we don't have any HTML yet inside the accordion component, so there can't be really anything in here. I'm just gonna copy this to be lazy. So that means within our app accordion, we're now basically in the content slot of those overarching topics. We could maybe have this inside the component as well, but it would make this really a lot harder. So if we have the top level defined up here and then just do it like this, it will be a lot easier. So within this, we're in the content slot, and we already need to be careful. So we only want to display another Ion accordion group if the item actually has some children. So in that case, we're going to do something. I'm going to remove this. If that's not the case, we might actually do, yeah, I think I don't even have a test for that, right? Maybe I should put in something like this at the top. Name people or whatever. Let's just, I don't know, name Twitter. Maybe these are some top level links. That's gonna be interesting because I haven't done this. So this might actually mess up our page, because those will be rendered now as top level items. You see, once you get into dynamic stuff, it's really sometimes a little mindfuck. We're gonna remove this for now. I don't want to confuse you anymore. And also, we don't really need ngIf in here, since it will just work. Okay, but we're gonna need an ng4 now, since at this point we're inside one entry. So we are inside the frameworks entry, and we need to iterate these children. That's a very good example, actually. Let's copy this out. Or is it closed? Okay, let's just copy one. So one child within this block would look like this. So that means we can use ng4 let child of item.children. There we go. And then we go ahead with the Ion accordion. And ngIf child.children. So if the child, if this child has again children, for example this entry here, which is a nested entry, we're gonna do something. We're gonna display an accordion, and otherwise we're gonna display an ng template with the name row. So let's just put in something easy here. We can say, I think child. Yeah, child.name. And then let's, for now, just add row. Okay, maybe I should put a comment around this. What we can see now is that we still don't have an accordion here. But we should actually see the row. I don't know why we don't see the row. Of item.children. Actually, this looks pretty good to me. Yeah, it's confusing. It's super confusing sometimes. Let's do the Ion accordion quickly as well. So the accordion, of course, has a header. And then the fun is that at this point, we inject the component again. So, Simon messed up until this point. It's not that funny, but really, if you think it through, it makes totally sense to simply reuse the component in this position once again. But of course, only if the item, if the child actually has children. Otherwise, it doesn't really make sense. So now the item is the child, and the additional fun is that we should now also pass in the parent. So we can just use our own path, our own, in this case means our own components path, to be used as the parent. Now let's see if anything is working. So I really messed up this and made a little typo at some point, but I can't figure out where I did this. So we definitely have the ng4 correct while we're iterating the children. Let's put in some logs. Do you also put in logs like this? We have the ion. Now I got it. Okay, made a little mistake inside the app component, so it couldn't work. Now it works a lot better. Okay, that's great that I messed up this part all the time. So now we can also just put it to the side, and then we're gonna see. Okay, we got frameworks. We got Angular, React, and a Vue row. We can expand Angular. We got a links row and a people row, and we can also expand libraries, and then we got all of this. So if you compare this to the tree of information, we have frameworks, Angular, libraries, Ionic, Angular material. Level next to libraries, we have links and people. Makes completely sense. Then we have the entry for React, which is still collapsed. And after React, we have this entry for Vue, which is also displayed correctly. Now let's try if languages works as well. So for languages, we have this array where we got JavaScript and 2 rows. So those work fine as well. I think we found our structure. We can definitely remove row now. And we see that the whole idea of our component works. We also see the different colors in action. The only thing that's missing right now is having a click event. So we're gonna just add to the button right here, click open child, because this is really the only time that an item has no children anymore. And in those cases, like here, Vue, so we're now at frameworks Vue. We're now at frameworks, React libraries, React router, and you can also compare it and see it within the URL that's created. We can go into Angular libraries, Angular material, all the path information would be right simply because we were smart enough to include the parent, which is handed to the next component if it is created from this component again. I agree, this is a bit complicated, and this is more advanced stuff. If you want to have a dynamic menu with a lot of entries, perhaps they're user-defined settings or something like that, or you just get this nested data from your API and you don't know how many levels you got, then this approach will work better for you. Otherwise, if you just have even if you have 30 entries or maybe 50 entries for your page and you just got the pages and the links, then you might just want to do it static like we did before. It's no problem, but I already also tried to do what we now did with our custom component up front here. And you see it gets really out of hand. You're at level 1, you're at level 2, you're at level 3, and you need to keep track of all the different items. So it doesn't really make sense to use a code like this anymore once you got a certain amount of entries and levels within your code. In that case, this is really a lot cleaner. You just have the top level defined up here and everything else is handled by our component itself. And then you can easily debug this and easily style it. We might even be able to put the rest up here into the Accordion group. Actually, I think, let me quickly do this. How does the component start? It starts with Ion Accordion group, and then it goes to the children and creates Ion Accordion for them. Actually, can we do this directly? I don't want to say that. I just don't want that you're doing this and then you say like, Simon, it's that easy. You could have just done it like this. Let's see if this works. Yeah, we're not inside the Ion content, so we should definitely be inside Ion menu. What's your problem? How did I mess up the accordion? That's not possible. That was just fine. What do you complain about? Really, it should have worked. So item of items, put in the item. Yeah, it's of course not the slot content this time. This time it would be just like this. Can I just get the link right again? Sorry about the confusion in the end. Yeah, looks like we can't do it. Really, you have to do it like I did before. I don't know why it's not working like this, but yeah. I didn't assume it would work like this. So let's go back to the version. I think it's fine to create the header part with our logic that we got. And now I completely messed up my side menu layout because now I know. Because I commented in the last lines. Oh damn, I made so easy mistakes today. Those could really be prevented. So let's give this one last time. If it works now, I'm happy. If not, then it's not too bad. It's just looking very interesting. So maybe that might need a bit more fine tuning, but anyhow, having those 6 lines up in here should be no problem. And I hope you'll be able to work on the base of this dynamic side menu, Ionic, Accordion, whatever template. Alright, and that's it for today. I hope the second part of this video didn't confuse you too much. It's really not that easy to create a view like that. Your data might be different, you might have different names and keys inside your JSON file. Everything could be structured a bit different, but I just want to show you that yes, it is definitely possible to create an accordion inside a side menu based on that information, and also attach router links by using the encode URI component function. So we can then have basically a full string of information to a path within the URL. There might be other ways to use this if you actually define all those different path components within your routing file, but this is like the really easy way if you just have this one placeholder inside the routing file and you just resolve that information in that one page that you just need for that. So maybe you're gonna use the first approach, maybe the second approach. Let me know if this works for you, if you got any other questions about this, and of course make sure to hit the like button and stay subscribed to the channel for more Ionic videos in the future. I hope you will have a great week with this side menu accordion item component, and I will certainly catch you next week. So happy coding, Simon.